Here.
Eddie.
Here.
Schneider. Stevens.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Smith. Here. Garrett.
Here.
Beeson. Here. 7 aldermen present, Schneider absent.
We will begin with consent agenda items, approval of minutes of previous meetings, payroll, and disbursements.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda items.
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? Roll call vote.
Chrysler.
Yes.
Eddie.
Yes.
Stevens.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Garrett.
Yes.
Beeson.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, Dan and Cameron, I see you have 2 items on the agenda. Do you want to talk about them?
I'll go first. Here to talk about the notice of intent to award for the wastewater treatment plant project. We talked about that back in November when you guys passed the debt authorizing ordinance. No referendum, public notice has expired, and we were able to move forward with approving the notice of intent to award. That is similar to an award of the contract. However, because you're getting a loan from EPA, we have to do an intent to award, and then once EPA signs off on everything and gives you a loan agreement, then we can move forward with actually the award and the notice to proceed. So, does anybody have any questions?
So is this going to give us the 0.8 something % financing?
This will lock us in, yep.
This will lock us in.
Yep, this is saying to EPA, we're moving forward, please give us a loan, and then they'll go through their underwriting and then send us back a loan agreement, and then after that, you'll accept that loan agreement and move forward with that.
How long does that take?
3-4 weeks, probably. Bids are only good for another week, but the contractors agreed to give us a bid extension, as long as we're moving forward. And then, if I get all the stuff to EPA tomorrow or Wednesday, then matters on the financial guys how back up he is, but 2 to 4 weeks is probably the average.
So when was the project?
So we'll probably do a notice to proceed and actually construct the 2-year construction contract in late February, early March.
Now, when the loan goes up, can you explain to the people again, like, how much it's like projected to increase their bill and when it will possibly happen, so that's some of the concerns I've been asked about.
I don't know what that will be. That's up to the council to do in the future, but that's not decided.
Okay, so because I thought that was projected in the admin meeting video. I only got to see the video, so.
Right. There was an option set out on the table, but nobody's decided a position or a direction to go with.
Okay, so when will
we don't have to start paying the loan back until 2027.
2027 is
That's
when we
when it
have to
starts.
start
Yes.
paying it back.
Right.
Okay, that's
First payment, and then it'll be a 30-year loan.
Okay, so with 2027 is when we're looking at projected increases.
Having to have the revenue to pay for the plant. Yeah.
As having to have, okay, so we have some time before we have to increase everyone's bills.
Yes.
Okay, and then we will have a projection of that.
Yep.
Of how to do it. Thank you.
Since there's some questions about this project, I'll allow up to 5 minutes from the audience. If anybody wants to ask Cameron any questions, now's the time. Raise your hand, state your name if you have a question.
I'm Tom Jeffers. My primary concern and question was, I was worried that this might not be going through tonight, and I was concerned about losing the 0.8% interest rate.
Right.
You guys are very helpful. We call over there and talk with you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because I know that we want to get this going and rolling because it has to be done.
Yeah.
Because if we wait, it's just going to cost us more. The one thing that I am a little concerned about, what the projection that you said that they put on the table. Do you remember what that projection was for the increase of the
It
bill?
was about $6.
About $6.
Step two over, what, 3 years?
It could be
It was a
stepped
step
in different
into
ways. Yeah.
Okay.
You explained that, Cameron, $2 in May this year.
Yeah.
And next year goes up $2 again, and then May of the next year, $2 again.
Okay.
If
That's
that's
what
what
the
the
$6
council
is at.
decides to do, yeah.
And with
So
our,
we could start it now.
May 1st, we can go $2 surcharge on the bill, and then May the 1st next year, be $2 more on it, and then May the 3rd year, it'd be $2 more, that'd be the $6, because we had to start making payments in 2027.
2027.
So we'll have money built up to start making our payments.
And that's in addition to the annual 6% increase?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
No problem. If you were to go out in the bond market and actually try to borrow this money at,
Right.
5-6% interest over 30 years with no grant, because you're also getting a $4.8 million grant, it would be $20 to $30 a month per person. So this is a substantial savings just in interest alone on top of the grant.
That's good news, thank you.
Yes, sir?
What is gonna be your max overrun, cost overrun?
So the loan itself is required to have a 3% contingency, so a 3% amount that we're allowed.
You can't go over that.
It's the council would have to approve any overage over what is approved now. Above, to bite into that 3%, but there's a 3% in the loan set aside if there was a need for something to change, but I don't see anything foreseeable right now.
Is there anybody gonna be here from Pana that's gonna oversee this as it's going on? Somebody that,
So Kent will be on site every day,
okay,
and his crew would be city personnel, I guess.
And you guys?
And then we'll be on site, but
okay.
I don't know who the actual person is yet, specifically.
Yes, sir.
Austin Shred. You said, what, $6 over as a surcharge?
Yes, it'd be $2 May of this year, then the next year it'd be $2 again on top of it. And then the third year it'd be 2 more, that's where they get the $6.
Right, what's the length of that surcharge?
Be over
Till the bill,
30.
till the
30
loan's
years.
paid.
Okay, and then does that surcharge drop off after that 30 years?
That'd
Or
be-
is that gonna stay on?
So after 10 years, it'd be a council decision.
Okay.
Because the 6% per year catches up. At a certain point, your loan's kind of even and your rate increase at that 6% catches up to you. But after that, it's a council decision on whether it stays or goes, or there's other things to spend money on, or.
So, I'm sorry, Matt?
Yeah.
So there's, at the 6% increase and the $2 surcharge, at some point will meet as far as the projected increment of increase over the 30-year period. So at some point, the 6% annual increase will possibly be sufficient to where the $2 surcharge will not apply.
Yes, it's possible.
Okay.
Mattering on what inflation and.
Now, you said that'd probably be around 10 years, you think?
Yeah, 10 years is where I stopped projecting,
Okay.
but we were getting pretty close in that time frame.
All right.
But I'm also assuming an inflation rate, and I'm assuming chemical costs and all sorts of things. There's a lot of variables, so.
All right, well, that's good. I think that it clarifies a whole lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Perfect. Any further questions for Cameron?
How did we obtain the grant, the $4 million grant?
So that is principal forgiveness through.
How did we obtain it? Who got
So-
that for us?
Illinois EPA. We applied for an Illinois EPA loan, and they have a principal forgiveness program where the city is able to qualify for a certain percentage of the loan amount, and that loan amount, that principal forgiveness is capped at 4.8 million this year. Last year was 5 million. Next year, I'm assuming it'll be closer to 4.5 million. The program's getting bigger. The dollars amount are getting smaller. So.
Okay.
It's 30%, isn't it?
Yeah, 30%.
Does anybody up here have any questions for Cameron? Okay, what do we want to do?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract for Boone Construction.
Second.
Now, is this just the first reading or just to approve?
This is.
Okay, got a second? Any questions else? Okay, take it to a vote.
Eddie,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Beeson,
Yes.
Chrysler,
Yes.
7 A's, 0 nays.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron. All right, Dan, you're up.
The second item we have is the Pana Lake water main extensions. We opened bids up on that. They came in considerably higher than the estimate due to the time that it took to get this to bidding. Overall project cost came in at almost $4 million, $3.914 million. And the deficit between the funding that's been obligated and total project costs, city would have to come up with about $1.6 million in additional funding. We could request that from USDA, see what kind of loan grant split they could give us. Or the other option that's been discussed is, so we could go that route, award the project, or we could reject all bids, look for more favorable funding. Last year was a bit of an atypical year through EPA SRF on the water side of things, but some of those projects were awarded about 75% principal forgiveness. So I don't anticipate it being that high in the future, but it's all dependent on what the feds get to EPA SRF program. I'd be willing to answer any questions, but those are kind of the two routes we're at with the Pana Lake water main extensions. It's either move forward with awarding the project and requesting additional funds, or essentially saying that we've got 3 other projects going right now, being the wastewater project, your lead service line projects, and your transmission main, which is your main water to town, the only water to town, and defer or reject these bids and try and get some more favorable funding.
I know when they opened up the bids, our USDA representative, she was here, and I asked her about trying to get more USDA funds, and she said it would be the end of January, but she said everything right now, there are projects going on, everything's coming in, like this one's 80% over the estimate, and she said it'd be separated, so it may be worth going another route. And as much as it came in, I'll make a motion, we reject bids and seek other alternatives in the future.
Well, by not doing it quickly, is there any further damage that we're looking at that's gonna cost us more money, or can we put this on hold without any major damage going? I may not be saying that very well.
Yeah, so there's not necessarily any damage going on right now, it's just not extending the water mains.
Okay, so we're not gonna hurt people or make it worse by waiting to try to get a better situation.
It will have to be rebid because the bids expire between now and when we'd be able to obtain additional funding. So it'd have to be rebid, and we don't know what the other funding that we'll obtain.
Will we lose any funding by waiting?
You will lose the DCO grant and the USDA funding.
How much were those again?
It's about 1.1 in total. 1.1 million in total, but again, that's on a almost $4 million project, as opposed to if we can go to EPA SRF and get even 50%, you're looking at a much more favorable funding scenario.
And this is just for around the lake? Correct. Not the water main coming to town?
Correct, and that's when I was referring to more of a prioritized project. In discussions that we've had, getting your main transmission main into town is more of a priority as opposed to extending.
Does anyone from the audience have any questions for Dan? I will entertain up to 3 minutes of discussion if there is any on this project. No? Okay, anybody from the council further? Questions for Ben on this? Scott, you make a motion on the table?
I made a motion
Scott.
to reject.
Second? No further questions or discussion? Take a vote.
Stevens?
No.
Scott?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Beeson? No. Chrysler?
Yes.
Eddie?
Yes.
That's 5 ayes, 2 nays, motion to reject bids.
Thank you, that's all.
Nothing else? All right, yeah, thanks. Milan and Final, we don't have said tonight, so you have project updates in your packets. Rudimentary leisure, they're also available on the counter for everybody to read. Report of officers, we'll go to Steve.
Yeah, just a few items. First one being the second presentation for the special use permit at 103 West Washington. Again, this is to allow tourist lodging use at that location.
I make a motion to pass the ordinance.
Second, any discussion or questions? You get that?
She got it.
Okay, good. Roll call.
Scott?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Beeson? Yes. Chrysler?
Yes.
Eddie?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays, that's for resolution number 2009.
The next item is the first presentation of an ordinance addressing water and sewer bill adjustments. And there's been some discussion about this at the last meeting, and committees looked at this and is recommending this particular ordinance.
I'll make a motion to suspend the first reading and pass it as an ordinance.
I'll second.
Second, any questions or discussion?
This ordinance, or if they don't have a sewer, how's that gonna work?
This takes care of it. The other ordinance.
That's why this ordinance is wrote.
Yep. This here, you know, where we had trouble, people had faulty toilets and it went in sewer. By the practice that's been going on, you couldn't do anything for them. People out the lake, they have no sewer, you couldn't do anything for them. You had people like on North Elm and North Locust and that had issues, they don't have sewer, you couldn't do anything with it. This ordinance here will allow breaks for that. It makes it all fair. If they have a major leak, we can go in and figure the average for 12 months, and then that's the bill they'll pay. But it's one time in 5 years for the address and for the individual. That way it takes care of rental properties.
So that individual, if they move to another location in that 5 years,
Yep,
Is the sewer one time in 5 years?
it's all together, water and sewer bill,
So-
it's all together.
They'll both be one time in
Yeah.
5 years?
Yeah, it's fair, because I know, we got the old ordinance from 2014 that the city had passed, and they rescinded it. And then the attorney sent down this ordinance here, but wound up the water superintendent, the city clerk, and the city treasurer and I sat down right here, and we rewrote this ordinance and sent it to the attorney and told him this is what we want, and it's fair. That's basically almost how we used to do it for years past, but it's got some stuff in here the attorney brought down, it's a lot better. I think it's fair.
Any further discussion? I have a motion and a second. Okay, vote.
Smith?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Beeson?
Yes.
Chrysler?
Yes.
Eddie?
yes,
Stevens?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays, that's resolution number 2010. Or, I'm sorry, ordinance number 2010.
Okay, and the next item is an ordinance, again concerning water, and this is imposing a water meter testing fee in certain circumstances.
Make a motion at first reading on this ordinance, proposal ordinance. First reading.
Got a motion. Do you want to explain it, what it's got?
Yeah.
Maybe for some that don't understand what it is?
Okay, what this is, we've talked about this for 2 or 3 years. Anytime a person complains about their meter, the meter reader goes out and he does a profile, they can hook his computer laptop to that meter, and it will print out a profile. And it shows where the water, like the toilet's flush, it shows where water is used, when there's no water at all, or if there's a leak, it shows water being used. Well, that's the first thing we do, and we show it to the, customer, and they still demand they want that meter tested. So we send the meter in, it costs $25 to get tested. And then when they send the meter in, we have to replace the meter, and these meters are registered to that address, and once the meter's sent in, all the meters that we've had sent in, they've all come back fine. There's been no issues with the meters. And when the meter comes back, means it's registered to that address, it can't be used again unless it goes back to that address. So it's considered deemed a dead meter. And the cost of that meter is $265.60. The meter reader, he gets paid no matter if he's turning off water, reading meters, whatever. So that, his cost doesn't apply to this. But we run across, we're just trying to deter from, once they do the profile, that explains it. But they demand the meter taken off this way, they'll pay for that meter to be replaced. But if it comes back and this ordinance proposed ordinance states that the meter is sent in and it does come back fault, you don't have to pay it, it's written in this way also. We worked on this ordinance, we wanted that in there, that way, if there was issues, they wouldn't have to pay for the test or pay for the meter.
So the cost to the people would be $260, whatever the cost.
It'd be $265.60 for the meter, and then $25 for the testing. And if it comes back faulty, there's no cost.
How many we tested in the past?
Last year, we tested like 3 of them. And then the year before, you know, I know how many we've been doing. I know we've been doing like 3 a year or sometimes more.
That's a good estimate.
Because I know we've had issues, we've had at one place, they've changed meter a couple different times. And it's come back, there's nothing wrong with it. They've got an issue there, they finally fixed it. But
I'm not saying that this is such, I understand the problem. I don't think that this ordinance is actually the way we need to do it, though. I think we need to do it a little different, just my opinion. For one, how come we can't just go ahead and put that meter right back on the house?
because you already got another brand new meter that's registered for that address. Either way, if you get the meter test and it comes back, you've already put another meter on there that's registered to that address. So either way, you've got a meter you can't use. That's how these meters are set up.
It's pointless to send it in if we're not ever gonna reuse it, so, like, we're
Well,
putting a brand new meter on,
you
so
send it
might
in,
as well
make
just-
sure there's not a problem with it. If there's a problem with it, then the customer doesn't have to pay for it. It's gotta be tested.
Right.
I'm not saying that we don't need to do something, I'm just not so sure that this is the right thing to do. I think we need to research this a little bit more and try to come up with something better. We can't just, we have too many meters issues and water issues now. We can't, the people have to have an option of how to find out what's wrong.
There's 2 options right there. The water meter guy going out and checking the whole line.
Right, and that's
And then
great.
the other option is to
And
apparently go with what the ordinance is gonna be now.
if we, and just because they say they want it sent in, that doesn't mean we have to do it.
Basically,
I mean, why?
they
Why
don't
can't we do
believe,
something different?
they don't believe in general.
I don't know,
If-
I just heard about this though.
Greg, go ahead.
If they can't see a leak, they often don't believe there is one. But when a meter breaks, and we haven't had any of these new ones break that I know of, when a meter breaks, your bill would go down. It wouldn't speed up. Your bill would go down. We'd be the ones whining that your meter was broke. Usually it's somebody who's got some bypass at a toilet or something that's so slow they can't find it, and they point to the meter and say, that thing's broke. So we're asking them to roll the dice on if this thing is broke or not. We'll test it and you'll pay the cost of testing. I don't think this $260 thing, I'm not sure that's accurate, but somebody's gotta stand on their head and take a meter out and maybe put it back. I mean, there's some employees' time involved. But if that thing's broke, which we haven't run into broken ones, we run into people who don't believe they have a leak. And if the meter was broke, it would go slower or it wouldn't turn. And their bill would be lower and we wouldn't be out there talking to them. We'd be saying, why is this guy not using any water anymore? And then we'd want to look at the meter.
How about the other,
It doesn't make your meter spin faster, it
So
makes
there's
it
no
slow
way it
down.
would spin faster if we did
I'm
this.
sure there's some way, some crazy.
no.
There's, yeah, I'm gonna say it will not spin faster when it breaks.
You said 3 a year, Tanya?
Can't the meter be tested in line?
Yeah, you can open it up and look at the thing spin.
Yeah.
We do that every time and they don't believe
Yeah.
it. This is about people not believing their eyes.
Thank you, sir.
Exactly.
Yeah, because every time we,
Thank you, Greg.
Hey.
It's kind of just a protection plan.
you got it. These prices are today.
Motion that's on the table.
These prices are today, because I talked to the water superintendent this morning, and the meter reader, they called the company to get the actual prices of today of the parts, because there's a meter base, encoder register part, an ME and endpoint, and got the prices breakdown for each part of it. And then the testing is $25, and I know Brian and Water Meter Reader has been talking about this for, ever since I've been on operations, they've been talking about this. And we've never done it, and I'm like, if we ever have to tie into the ordinance, do any changes, we ought to do something with it. And that's what we're doing now. Try to deter, because when they do the profile explains, like the last council meeting, we had that up here because we thought we was gonna have an issue with a customer. And we had that up here, because that's the first thing we do is the profile, and that explains what's going on.
Do we charge them for the profile?
No,
Okay.
they don't charge for that. They go out there, they hook up the laptop to the meter, and it takes all the records, then they bring it back to the office, and they print it out. You know, that's where you get stacks like that of the meter. Every time we've had issues, I got them. And then they went out, the superintendent would go out and show the individual, this is what the meter's going, you have a problem or you don't have a problem. And then that's where you got a few people just demand to do it. And it's like, it's a waste of time, there's nothing wrong with that meter. So we're just trying to deter from doing this, because we're the ones eating the cost of the meter every time we do it.
I got a first and second, so let's take it to a vote.
Garrett,
Yes.
Beeson,
Yes.
Chrysler,
No.
Eddie,
This is first presentation?
yes, first presentation.
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
6 ayes, 1 nay, this is for first reading.
Rebecca?
All right, the next item is a resolution approving a lease agreement with Jerry Phillips. This is for the property at 109 South Locust.
We're just continuing Jerry's lease as he's had it, no changes.
Month-to-month lease.
Yes.
Make that motion to approve that. Resolution.
Second, questions? Okay, roll call vote.
Beeson,
Yes.
Chrysler,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays, that's resolution number 25-01.
That's all I have.
Greg, you already sit down.
No report.
Nothing. Kirby's not here. Kim?
The only thing I have is a special events application from, the disc golf organization. They want to host the Rose City Open on May 17th, 2025, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. They will have 2 events going on at once, one both at Kitchell Park and one at the new disc golf course at the lake.
Take a motion.
No second.
Any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Anything else?
That is all I have. Thank you.
Tanya?
I have nothing.
Nothing. I have an item. I just need the council to approve hire of the top 3 candidates for the 2 street department positions in the flex position, pending successful physical and background checks from the chief. The street department hires are Evan Swisher and Brock Kircher, and the flexible is Ross Glick.
Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Second, any questions?
And 2 of those all their background check and physicals have already come back. They look pretty good.
Oh, we're into the game then. All right, vote on it.
Eddie,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Beeson,
Yes.
Chrysler,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
We're going to go to community safety.
Motion to approve, I'd like to bypass the first presentation. Motion to have an ordinance authorizing a 4-way stop sign at the intersection of 7th and Chestnut.
I'll second that.
Motion is second. Any questions? Okay, roll call vote.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Beeson,
Yes.
Chrysler,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays. That's to waive first presentation and pass ordinance number 2011.
Second one I have is a motion to, and I believe we have to get IDOT's permission on this also. Motion to install flashing, solar lights on the stop sign at 6th and Fair Avenue. And install a flashing warning sign about a block east of that location.
On the sign on the highway, you'll have to clear that with DOT.
I thought we had to move the stop sign also, since that stop sign's on the highway.
Yes, we'll have to clear that with
Yeah,
DOT.
that's what I was,
Yeah.
I got a price, but I don't know where to put it at.
We got a motion in a second, let's vote.
Scott,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Beeson,
Yes.
Chrysler,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes,
Stevens,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
also, there was a motion to request IDOT to place the WI-7 sign at the boulevard at 6th and Fair Avenue with flashing lights on it if it's possible. And that's what we gotta get permission from them also on that, correct?
Either one of them, they'll, yes.
Thank you for the clarification, Greg.
Second on that.
Second. Okay, hold on.
Smith,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Beeson,
Yes.
Chrysler,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes,
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
we've got a grant going, or a grant being made for the fire station improvements. We wanna make a motion that we, help assist with that, with the business district funds.
How much is, do we know how?
We don't know how much they're gonna get, actually, is that right, chief?
Right.
So, we
gotta
want to
apply
match
for
what
it.
we can
just
match,
need to know if we need any
possibly.
help.
So we
Do
wanna,
we have a limit?
But we can
I was
also
gonna
bring
say,
this, I just wanna make a motion so we can say yes or no to this, and then come back with, if they need more, how much they need, we can try to help them with that, a percentage.
So we're making a motion to agree to help them pending,
Yeah,
on
but
it-
then.
pending an agreement
Yes.
on voting on the
On
amount.
their grant approval, them getting approved for the grant.
so, we just wanna, okay,
Blank check.
we can't.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
I just wanted that
I don't want this to be a free reign, like, we'll just, well, yeah,
I
we're
see
gonna
what
build
you're
this
All right,
whole
well, hold
wall
on.
over here.
I'll rescind that motion, so we'll pass that on for later.
Okay.
Motion to approve David A. Thompson and Nalani N. Clover as volunteer firefighters.
I second that.
Second, okay, roll call. Or no, all in favor. We don't need to roll call that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Chief Bland would like to speak on something.
Just to update council on a few things, end of the year numbers and activity. For one, Officer Caleb Hubbard's gonna be recognized for his outstanding work in a drug arrest he made through the night last year, closed out through the judicial system, took a nice drug dealer off the streets, got a 10-year sentence. That's a big deal in our community.
Great.
Working alone, located him with a warrant, had dope and stuff on him, and, so he's being recognized. Two, our stats, our end of the year stats went out, I posted them on a social media account, I sent them to the press as well. Overall, I mean, our major serious crimes are down and very respectable considering the size of our town and comparable to the past. We are seeing slight movements in areas that we target heavily with thefts and property damage, things that correlate with drug use, substance abuse, those types of things. So we are, there's a lot of options going on. We are starting to see a slight effect from the Safety Act on the repetitive nature of the system we're working in. The courts recognize it. I think they're trying to do their best on slowing down the repetitive in and out repeat offenders, so to speak. But overall, our numbers were good. Proud of my team and the work they do. They often work alone. So I'm super proud of the work they do. I also mentioned to you, I thought it was important. A lot of people don't realize what we do outside of law enforcement. And I see it daily where the guys care about people. They go above and beyond on serving others, which is vital in a community our size or any size. But I got a great group of officers and dispatchers that I'm proud of, so those numbers are out. The third thing I want to mention on our officer that's appointed to the task force, which most of you are aware of, I've been involved in the task force since the 80s. We've received a grant to support that position, a portion of it into the 90s, and then 2/3 of the position from the 90s currently, but we knew the grant was expiring at the end of 24. So with that being said, the commanders with ISP that supervise the task force worked hard to pull in additional grants from the Department of Justice, and they pulled in a violent crimes grant that correlates with what that team focuses on, mainly drugs, but drugs involve crimes and violent crimes. And if we ever have a violent crime, we obviously pull their resources in. They applied for a grant and the grant was approved. So our funding that we've received, which is about $44,000 a year toward that position, was approved again for 3 additional years, which we did not feel we was going to get. Honestly, we thought with the change of perspective on attacking substance abuse problems, we didn't know if we was going to get something that could be targeted in that area, so we're thankful for that. And then lastly, the officer assigned to that unit, there's an MOU between all agencies that work that unit. And we work our county, we work Sangamon County, Morgan, there's several agencies, I think 8 or 10 agencies involved in that. We're part of an MOU, so the goal of that position, naturally, we don't just focus on petty possession drug crimes from that unit. That's local, we do it, but we elevate into targeting the drugs that are coming into our city because that is the main problem. Someone using is a problem we want to help, but those that are poisoning our city, that position targets that, so that's why they work the entire region. And when they work cases, they seize property and they seize cash from major drug dealers in that unit. And so for the last 6 or 8 years, every case that's worked, whatever funds is seized and ran through the process, through the legal system, the Department of Justice, the courts, eventually it's awarded back to a percentage of our agency. So we're starting to see money flow back in on several of those cases. And I look this year alone, there was about $92,000 that came back from forfeit funds from cases that our officer worked with other agents around the area that goes into an account within the city that can be targeted toward the needs that we see fit. So, and there's several additional DAGs or cases that are still pending. So that account is really advanced in the last 3 to 6 months through the year, finally opening up all the hard work that they're doing. So with that being said, I think things are going in the right direction. We see a large percentage of our calls to repetitive locations and choices and circumstances. So we're trying to figure out how we can address those areas, because if we have 60% of our calls targeting 10% of a circumstance, how can we address those issues? And that's what we're trying to figure out. There's long-term solution, but it's like, it gets frustrating for the community when and we're struggling with the courts, we're struggling with just options on how to deal with this, and it's been hard. It's been a challenging 5 to 7 years of this law enforcement change. And it's not fair. I feel the victims are sometimes overlooked of crimes more than anyone, because they're the ones losing their tools and their car, or their this or their that, and it goes to the courts, and there's resources poured in to help the one that committed the crime. Sometimes we forget about those that are waking up, going to work, and their tools are gone. But in our small community, we know who's struggling in these issues, so if there's better ways of targeting these people that are causing problems for our community to get them out of that cycle of crazy, I think will help reduce our repetitive calls and locations. So that's some of the plans we're looking to do into this year. So
what do you think we should do?
Pardon me?
What do you think we should do?
Well, I think a lot of what's going on is targeting the substance abuse programs, people to get in because they support their habits through bad choices and crimes and thefts and then domestics and you name it. Probably 75% of our calls are related to some kind of substance abuse. It's that involved. So education, accountability, just healing that person from problems that's causing their choices. Because the repetitive cycle that my officers, we live in, drives us crazy. But yet we understand the world someone's living in, suffering, they're not happy either. So that's why there's a lot going on with drug rehabilitation programs, there's churches working, everybody's pulling together to try to, and the courts are doing it as well with their drug court, their problem-solving court. Some work, some don't, but you can't just throw your hands up and not do something. So there's a lot going on, but for our small community, we're very busy for who we got, and but I'm proud of my team, and so there's your summary. Thank you.
Why don't we have a group of people meet and discuss these problems, and we come up with some answers?
We can do that.
Youth programs, there's all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
Hey Chief, I do have a
Because I think
question
if
for you.
they're lost, they're not, you can't
We'll
help
talk
them.
later.
Your team does an awesome job, and I thank you for
Yeah.
these stats. And I just might do a little feedback from, I know the council, we've this year implemented a couple things to assist you and trying to help you guys. Do you feel that you've seen any kind of improvement on the last two ordinances we wrote on lawnmowers and motorized bicycles? I mean, winter,
Cold
obviously.
now.
kind of cold.
Now, to us, I want to be politically correct, that is a lesser priority we deal with, but it is a
Yeah.
nuisance, but that ordinance helped us address an issue. And it not only addresses the noise, but then we get to step in and find out who we're dealing with, where you're coming from, possibly warrants, possibly more serious criminal activity. So that did help.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that, you know,
Yeah.
we're doing what we need to support you guys and assist you the best way possible to, maybe make your job a little bit better.
It's a big problem that law enforcement is facing, how do we deal with this? It's crazy. Anyway, thank you, Mayor.
Exemplary work. Okay, we'll go on to community operations.
Yeah, I got a couple things to report. Lift station, the Lake Lawn Lift Station, on December the 30th, they installed the 2 brand new pumps in, and then on New Year's Day, sewer superintendent got a high water alarm set off out there and went out there and both pumps fell. So the very next day, the company came down and had to pull the pumps. We've got the Renault pump back in it. We haven't heard back from the company yet on what happened to the new pumps, but it's up and running, but we're using a Renault again, so I wanted you to know about that. And then this morning, the street department cleaned all the snow uptown, and in the process, the old Blue International dump truck, the cylinder that raises the bed up and down, the cylinder blew out this morning, so it's out for repairs. So I wanted you to know that. We still got 4 trucks, but we're gonna get it fixed as soon as possible. And then we've been busy with, the interviews and all that for the positions, but that's it.
Okay, administration.
Nothing at this time.
Community support.
I have nothing at this time.
I bet economic development doesn't have any either.
Not much.
Sure not. Negotiations, nothing. Unfinished business, new business. Citizens' opportunity to address the council, I see one address it on May 5.
Okay, I finally got a phone call from Matt Kessler. He is the president of the soccer league about the soccer shed at the park. I just let him talk. He wanted to sell it to Pain of Pride. He said they got a estimate or not an appraisal, but somebody told him what they thought it was worth. 15 to 20,000, which is way out of line. But he would sell it. He said he would sell it to Pain of Pride for 15. I don't think he don't understand that we can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
We were under the impression that when we signed that contract to keep the Santa house there, that they were going to send something to the soccer league saying they either have to move it or whatever, but I don't think that was ever done.
I called them and I didn't send them anything, but I said it was, not kosher for somebody to own a building in the public park and to get us a price and we'd pay for it. We wanna own that thing, not soccer and not Pain of Pride.
No.
We don't want somebody else owning a shed in a park, which was a mistake made whenever that happened. So, we just need to talk directly to Matt.
I know when I can call him and talk to you.
Yeah, do that.
I'll take care of it, Linda.
Okay.
I'll get with you and let you know what happens. We'll get it sorted out.
He asked me where we were putting our displays. I said, well, we have to put them down in the basement in the Chautauqua. You know, we would like to have that to where we could put them. I mean, we're even willing to put a concrete floor in it and everything, if this council would let us.
That means it's not falling apart or anything, is it?
The boards around the bottom will have to be replaced, but,
Yeah, I'll get with you in a
Okay.
day or two, I'll call him.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, if there's nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to close.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, everybody.